in earlier, please feel free to watch your convenience. So today's topic is going to be sleep and sleep support and holistic, of course. The questions on anything and everything, of course, as they come in. And let's start talking about sleep. That's one of the most important things that we can do for our health. Dr. Shealy's legacy is in literally talking about lifestyle and putting the basics and foundations essentially.
We don't have sound. Sorry, but we don't have sound. My bad.
Okay. I'll start it.
Yeah. I just realized.
Shut this down and then restarting a new life. No, it should be fine. Let me see. Audio broadcaster. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Hi. I hope we have audio now. If you've been watching me, I guess without sound, I hope you can read lips because not much has been coming through, I suppose, but if it has, great. So Dr. Sergey Leo Shealy-Sorin at your service, and we're starting a little later. Obviously, a few technical difficulties, nothing that can't be figured out. So question and answer Friday. If you're joining in now, great. If you joined earlier and you didn't see us, please feel free to watch this at your own convenience and your own time. Today's topic is sleep, and of course, we are here to take any question that you may have on whatever topics, and if we can answer, great, because this is a holistic, functional, regenerative perspective with Dr. Sergey Shealy-Sorin, myself, and based on the foundation of Dr. Shealy, who's basically been a pioneer in health and wellness and holism. So sleep, why is that important? Well, first of all, most people don't get enough sleep. Let's put it this way. Sleep is one of the 5 basic essentials. So nutrition, lifestyle, including exercise, movement. If you're not moving, you're not doing what your body is meant to do. If you're putting things in your system, gastrointestinal, that's one of the most common reasons for metabolic syndrome, all kinds of medical problems, and just not feeling well. Garbage in, garbage out. Or good stuff in, good stuff out. Body mass index, that's another big one. Sleep is another big one, and here's why. Let's start talking about what is sleep and how it works. Circadian rhythms and cycles. So when we go to bed at night, we go through several stages of sleep. There is stage 1, which is general relaxation. Stage 2, deeper sleep. That's when we're actually out, but we're not in a deep recovery stage. Interestingly enough, people who take sleep medications and sleep supports generally happen to be in that stage 2 sleep. It's not deep enough to be fully refreshing, and yet it's somewhat refreshing. So it's always a choice between whether to take a medicine or a pill for sleep or not, because you would probably be missing the stage 3 deep sleep, which is the next stage, and that's 0 to 3 cycles per second, and that is in delta. Interestingly enough, delta is a frequency that can be supported with a number of options, including there is on a device-wise, Dr. Shealy created a PEMF setting on that with delta frequency, and they use the device, for example, that's the ring under the pillow at night while I charge the device, and that leaves me the device for the whole day for about 6 to 8 hours, so I can carry it with me. And then, of course, there's a time to recharge again, and there's a binaural beat support for the sleep, which is called super sleep. And I'll get to the question in just a second. But there's another practical application and support here, because if we can come to the body's assistance and aid in restoring sleep and optimizing what what is essentially a circadian rhythm reset. You're not sleeping well, you're not resting well, you're not recovering. There's a hormonal, endocrine, thyroid, metabolic, and otherwise complications. So short of it, essential, absolutely essential. And the orogenic training or biogenics training that is very good for this is called basically super sleep or 8-hour sleep cycle in Delta. So it keeps you in a really good place, and I use it daily personally. We have a question. I live in a city and drink only bottled water. Spring versus distilled. Which one do you feel is best? Okay. So the interesting thing about water, and there is a very good question on this. Thank you so much. Water is one of the most essential elements in our body. And speaking of sleep, since I just want to tie that in, having proper good hydration is one of the keys to health and wellness. And if you're not getting enough water or hydration, it's difficult to get into stage 3 deep sleep, which is then followed by REM sleep. But let's stay with about water. Issues with the water is we're talking about here fluoride, chlorine. We're talking about all kinds of things. So distilled is wonderful. If it's truly a good source quality bottled spring water, that's also great. But please check out the company, because there's a lot of companies that will literally bottle their product and it'll say spring water, but it may be taken from a local supply and might not be different than your tap water, which is terrible. So this is one of the key factors. And of course, the key on water is make sure that if you drink water, that it's half your body weight in ounces. So let's say for a typical 150-pound person, it would be 75 ounces. But I recommend getting more of the good quality stuff. What we use here in the office is Berkey, Berke, I believe. Don't quote me on the spelling, which is a quick way to distill and clean up filter the water. There's a double filter system there. I have a water filtration system in the house personally for not just for the kitchen and not just for the cooking and drinking, which is double filtrated, literally. And if you can do that, fantastic. Reverse osmosis does really well. We also happen to have it just a general first round of filtration just for everything, including shower and even for the plants. We just want everything in our house to be healthy. Now there's a second follow-up here. I hope I addressed that. So water is very, very important, but the source has to be considered, and a little bit of research would be important. If you can do some filtering in your own home, that's another possibility. Living in a city is a factor. Most city living is, hazardous to your health to the degree. In reference to before sleep, my suggestions, question, in reference to before sleep, any suggestions to what time and day to take certain supplements? Thank you. Wonderful. Let's talk about supplements in relation to sleep. First of all, as I frequently talk about this, we mentioned sleep is one of the most essential aspects of life and health and wellness, and it also helps to reset and establish circadian rhythm. In other words, there are certain things that happen during the day, hormone-wise, thyroid-wise, cleanup-wise, and then think of it an action phase, and then at night, there's a cleanup process, including liver, internal organs, and at night, preferably what we'll be doing is sleeping and resting and allowing that beautiful recovery so that the next day we can get back in action and do what we need to do. It's kind of like a cleanup in between. If you ever go to like a store like Walmart or some other supermarket, when the day is done, usually the employees start cleaning up and getting ready for the next morning, and that's the idea. The supplements they recommend, good B complex, Dr. Shealy's Youth Essentials, which would allow you to have 25 milligrams of B complex, very important. Second, there would be Youth Formula, youth formula is vitamin C, MSM, raises DHEA, anti-stress wellness hormone, which balances and supports the DHEA production by 60%. There's another thing that does that as well, which is on supplement level scale, and that happens to be the magnesium topical, magnesium chloride, not magnesium by mouth, because that's a different process, and I certainly support that for bowel movement and constipation, which is another form of toxicity, which is the gut is at the center of a lot of different things, including hormones and thyroid and autonomic nervous system and stress and toxicity and inflammation. So that's why, that's another reason why in our practice, gut is very, very important, GI, including for sleep. You're not sleeping well, check out the GI system. It's interesting that there is a huge correlation. So let's see, so just getting back to the supplements, and I know I kind of going to the rabbit holes here, but it's kind of important to say this on a holistic scale. The other thing is vitamin D3, which is vitamin D is a pro-hormone. It's actually required for a number of significant functions in the body, and when it's low, there is poor sleep, mental health, anxiety, stress, physical issues, chronic disease, lots of bad stuff. So make sure you get your vitamin D, and what we recommend, and so realholisticdoc.com, but there's other sources. I just haven't seen it too much because it's just not available, is 50,000 units, international units of vitamin D in a capsule, and you take it on a weekly basis. Now, if you need a loading dose, that's a different story. Conversation for another time. The three other things that would be very important is taurine. Taurine is an amino acid, which at 4 grams starting dose generally, perhaps at night, stabilizes electromagnetic charge across the cell membrane. So we're talking about a cellular health, and cells make up the body. Trillions of cells, or various organs, communications, and the health of a cell is the key. So taurine is one of the amino acids, semi-essential, that is necessary for good sleep. And if you're not getting good sleep, or blood pressure issues, or stress issues, anxiety, depression, any kind of those kind of situation, brain, heart, palpitations, taurine can help significantly. Too much can make you drowsy. But again, the side effects are generally well-being. That's the difference between supplements and drugs in general. Another 2 things for sleep would be in the morning, as Dr. Shealy recommends, tryptophan, which is another amino acid, and I would start about 4 grams on that because, in the morning, and then some people would do better at night, but again, Dr. Shealy's recommendation is to consider in the morning. Tryptophan is a precursor to serotonin, which gets converted to melatonin at night, and then melatonin then interconverts to serotonin back again during the day. So you're literally, again, it's back to reestablishing circadian rhythm. The idea is, I don't want you to need too many things externally, but there are certain things that help significantly for the human body. It's like a car. The analogy, and I'm not a mechanic, and this is the extent literally to what I'm going to say, my knowledge-wise, but if you have a vehicle and there's supposed to be certain fluids that you're going to be putting in, and you don't do it, like, for example, you don't put the fuel in, that could be complex, or some of the things I mentioned, you don't expect the car to drive. And if you do, you'll be disappointed. Same with the fluids in the vehicle. So you follow the manufacturer's instructions and suggestions, things go well in general. If we don't, the human body will take only so much, and then we start to have damage. And then we start to have decompensation, and then chronic disease. So basically, so that's the tryptophan, and then of course the other thing that works with that in combination with tryptophan is a cofactor to convert tryptophan into serotonin, so that you can have that beautiful, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed morning and day, and then beautiful night. Is lithium orotate, and I would start it anywhere from 15 to 20 milligrams, and then you can go up to maybe 30 or down to maybe 5 or 10, and if you don't need it, then that's fine too. Melatonin is obviously another big one, and some people take up to 10 to 20 milligrams, and again, this is not medical advice, but melatonin is a significant well, it has other functions for the immune system and lots of other benefits. So there's a lot more to this topic than meets the eye. I think we have another question, I believe. It says, not sleeping well, doctor. I have tried melatonin, not helping. Please help. God bless you and Dr. Shealy. Okay, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So I think what I just talked about is certainly a good start. And if you, of course, would love to see you and talk about the entire spectrum of what it takes, including sleep cycle, what's messing with it, what's contributing to it, what's making it better, and optimize. God doesn't make junk, really, literally. So we make junk in our lifestyle, in our choices, and it's not always our fault. It's sometimes, frequently, it's the environment, it's the culture, it's the craziness and the busyness of the things, the stress which needs to be controlled. There's a whole big picture here. But the bottom line is, you can and you will get control if you do the right things. Literally changing patterns, changing outcomes. That's all there is to it. Another interesting comment there, and maybe we can put it up here. I use the PEMF and the supplements. Appreciate all you do. Back to previous question. Read about certain time to take vitamins in relation to the earth and body rhythms. Okay, perfect. So we just talked about that. So most of the supplements that I mentioned, I would take in the morning. But the taurine I would do in the evening, shortly before bedtime. And that is because that's one of the best relaxers. And if you can get a good night's sleep, fantastic. Now, some people, when they wake up in the morning, the cortisol levels through the roof. So what happens is, even though they start with low cortisol while they're rested, then if we do the testing and tracking, you'll see those numbers go up on the cortisol, whereas DHEA slowly gets down, and then you have an issue with adrenal burnout, as people say, but it's not really a burnout. It's what it is literally is a dysregulation and burning the candle at both ends. Again, a holistic approach. There's an easy thing you can do about it, and it's a good outcome if we follow through. I hope that answers that question. And by the way, people who take melatonin by itself, and most people don't take not even nearly enough for the amounts or drop in the bucket, so to speak. That might not work in itself, because there's other cofactors here, including sleep cycle, going to bed, sleep hygiene, going to bed at a certain time, which is ideal. Let's say, give you one regimen: go to bed at 10 o'clock in the evening. Make sure everything is off, everything is comfortable, cooler temperature, and no TV, no blue light, no distractions, just cut down on stress, stop all kind of business or family communications that may be disturbing, and stay away from TV. I'll just say that, especially news right before you go to bed. In general, the news is meant to rile things up, not relax things, which is what we need as we enter into the sleep. And then, of course, there's all kinds of sleep supports for folks, including autogenic training, biogenics, 8-hour sleep support, PEMF, of course, that's really good. Supplements, as we talked about, stress management, and lots of benefits all around. And sleep is literally essential for well functioning. I have not met a single person who's had bad sleep and good health. It reflects in metabolism. It reflects in hormones, low testosterone, early menopause. You lose the protection of and I'll come back and I'll say this once more time. God doesn't make junk. We frequently make decisions that are not good for us, but we can always get back. So, folks, I'm sorry to jump in a little later. We did have some technical difficulties. Hopefully we'll get that under control as we're working through the bugs here. And I hope you find this program helpful. Our intention is to get everything rolling on time for the next question and answer session. And if you're catching this at your convenience, on your time, please send us any comments, questions, and we'll take a note of those and we'll address them at the next question and answer session. Dr. Shealy-Sorin with Shealy-Sorin Wellness, Real Holistic Doc, and Dr. Shealy also is saying hello for blessings and thank you.